what is that one Shopify app you admire the most and it can't be your own?
Checkout links. I just met Dennis maybe 2 months ago, and his app works really well with ours.
Deposits versus pre-order, which is best for brands?
It's funny because I think pre-orders is an overused term.
What are your thoughts around SEO and GEO?
Yeah, I mean, there's opportunity for implementing AI in Downpay, I guess, but I would say there's still so much useful things that don't need it.
Typically, without that, what was another option before Downpay? Was there any actual workaround?
No, I mean, you could hack it.
When you are maybe somewhere in Lithuania, Spain, Australia, or India, for us, what are your thoughts around it, and how do you think people should ideally go about agency partnership angle?
I think anybody who's trying to automate partnerships, at our size, right? I'm not talking about the Klavios of the world.
Hello, and welcome to the SaaS Hub Podcast. This is the Shopify App Founders Edition, Season 1. I'm your host, Yuvraj Kevte, founder of the SaaSHub.com, a platform where we curate top Shopify apps in every category and help merchants and agencies find the right tech stack and make smarter decisions. On the show, we go behind the scenes with builders shaping the Shopify ecosystem, real conversations, real insights, and real lessons. Today's guest is someone who has been in Shopify from the inside. Diana Birsan is the co-founder and CEO of Downpay and previously spent over 6 years at Shopify, where she led and worked on products initiatives, including early work around enabling partial payments and flexible checkout experience within the Shopify ecosystem. Now at Downpay, she is bringing the same concept to merchants, helping them offer deposits, pre-order, and flexible payment flow. Diana, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me. Excited to chat.
Same here. So, Diana, you have literally spent over 6+ years working on products, including partial payments, checkout related capabilities, and all that. Was Downpay a natural extension of the work you were already doing there?
Yeah, funny you should ask, right? I had left Shopify in 2021, and I actually moved to a company unrelated to e-commerce. So I was like, that was fun. We're done. I'm going to go do this other thing and be a product lead over here. And so, yeah, never thought I'd actually look at e-com again. And, random happenstance happened. And my co-founder, we met over a barbecue. We were chatting. I was kind of like, I want to go faster. I want to build something. I was kind of tired of working for someone else. And just gave him the idea that I'm like, well, I worked on these APIs and I think there's a really good opportunity because I had pitched the problems that people were having when we built those APIs. And I was like, well, okay, I love this world. I love this stuff. I'm a huge nerd and gamer. So pre-orders and deposits was part of my life for a very long time. And then, he was taking a career break and we got very lucky that we could spend some time hacking on something to solve for this problem. So, didn't think that it would happen. It was really, really weird. And people were like, did you plan this? And I did not. It was just a random thing. So happy it happened. But I'm like, I know this stuff really well. Why don't I, put some, double down, put some belief in myself that I could do this thing and, let's see what comes of it.
No, absolutely. I think that's really brilliant that you are staying true to your roots. You have worked in the ecosystem. So the organic progression is definitely working an app in and around Shopify. But what I really loved is a lot of time I've seen a lot of founders who has worked in Shopify, but when they are actually building apps, they probably go towards categories which are more lucrative, like subscriptions, apps, upsells, support, and everything. But I think you kind of banked on your superpower around partial payments. I think that's where the real power unlock for you. Um, I would really love to understand because what I feel is today, most e-commerce brands operate on a very simple model. Customer pays, orders get fulfilled, right? But that doesn't really work for a lot of businesses. Where does you feel this down payment deposits model really works and really makes sense for brands?
Yeah, no, great question. I mean, it's basically what what we're all building towards with Downpay, where you have, you have things that are in stock. You buy them today, you ship them today, everything's done. And so super useful, on low value things or, mass produced like products. But when you get to, specific industries where there's high value, high consideration products, it's not so easy to just, like, swipe a credit card or, like, put in your numbers online and be like, "Okay, take $10,000. Let's do this thing." And that's kind of an area that's, I just think is underserved and deserves a little bit more flexibility for customers, right? So, it's become more popular to buy jewelry online, to buy, furniture, to buy these high value products where, from a customer's perspective, maybe they could just do buy now, pay later, split their payment up over time. But from a merchant's perspective, that's signing up for, like signing their customers up for loans. That's giving away like 5 to 10% in margins. And that is just, hinging on banking, like a banking system instead of just, pure technical partial payments on someone's card while they wait. So those are kind of the areas that we focus on because it just feels like there is no good opportunity to make that experience better online.
No, I think that's really brilliant because if merchants or if customers are any which way is gonna spend that additional 5%, 6% on financing or on credit cards for fulfilling those high ticket items, why not maybe even try help save that amount to them and then get them on board without doing it? Typically, without that, what was another option before down pay? Was there any actual workaround to this situation, or just credit cards and loans were the only options?
No, I mean, you could hack it with, and you could still hack it with draft orders, right? Where you like send somebody like a custom line item for a draft order. You say, this is a 50% deposit. And then you would send the next one, like another draft order later. Issue with that was like, I saw people doing it where they would put the products on the draft order and use discounting as a way to do like less than the full price. Then they would have to do it again when they were requesting final balance, and now you've sold 2 things with a discount, right? So, like, your analytics are off. And then the other situation was, like, these custom items with, like, no inventory, where they just were typing in, like, what they were selling, so that's not tied to any inventory, that can't scale, and along with all of that, it was just chasing payment, right? Like, it was like, "Okay, pay the invoice, like, let's go," and for D2C, that's you don't have a very, like, long-standing relationship with people like you have with B2B, where it's like, "Okay, I know who I'm dealing with, like, I trust that you're gonna pay your thing in 30 days." And so you're dealing with all these issues, which is fine when you're starting out, like, your business, but not fine when you're scaling, right? And so businesses that we work with are like, "Okay, like, we get hundreds or thousands of orders in a month, like, I'm not going to chase 100 people or 1,000 people for the balance payment," right? Yeah, so
No, that's crazy. And I was just thinking out loud that when you are actually doing draft orders, it means that you need to be in touch with the customer for doing it. So it's typically like then your 9 to 5 kind of a retail store. But e-commerce doesn't work that way. A customer could browse your website 2 a.m., 5 p.m. at their convenience. So potentially, with that situation, you are end up losing a ton of potential customers who might have purchased but didn't go ahead because of the ticket size or too high, or the lead time from them placing the order to the actual products getting delivered and their amount being tied down being like, let's say, 2 3 months. So I think down payment option or partial payment option definitely seems like a great way to not only give an ease for end customers but also conversion perspective.
yeah, that's exactly it, where, it's funny, it's an interesting problem, right? Like, from a business perspective, it's an interesting problem where you already have a certain amount of abandoned carts, and it's like, well, I don't know why they like, maybe some reasons why they did. They didn't like the shipping price or whatever. But there's a segment of people that like, yeah, you will lose to long lead times, high value, like high prices, so on and so forth. That like this kind of solution is an option to experiment with to see whether you're able to retain more of that revenue and get people to commit. And I mean, we've seen it personally. Like, some of the original customers that we got, they're still with us after 3.5 years, and they've had like 30% increases in sales. Like these are larger plus brands, but better conversion on high value products that have lead times. Like it's just a no brainer. Who would want to put money down? And like some of these are 12-week lead times. Like, oh yeah, just hold all of my money. Like while I wait. Like nobody wants to do that. Even I'm like, I was buying some plants for the garden, right? And like earlier in the year. I actually bought from one of our merchants. And it was, yeah, they have a deposit system for like I think it's half and half maybe or something. And I was just like so pleasantly surprised that, I'm like, I'm able to actually split costs for, some of these things and not have to pay for it until they ship. So yeah, it's just like it's a psychological thing, right? And it does make a difference to trust, which is like the big thing behind why I think it's so valuable, especially now with like costs going up everywhere.
Absolutely. I have it might be a silly question, but do you think offering partial payments or deposits can also help brands maybe even gauge what kind of demand they could have, plan their inventory and cash flow properly?
Yeah, I would say so. Like, a subset of the brands that use us are very much like gauging demand and trying to make sure that they can meet their like the production limits that they have. So it's like, hey, it's much easier to go to a manufacturer and say, hey, like I have these many committed people, and I can produce this many and sell this many, and that when you do place an order, it's a true order, right? Sure, people can cancel, but when you're asking for a deposit, even a like a smaller amount, it is skin in the game, right? And it does work to like build commitment, right? So it's just like it is very it's much easier, right? And so, I have launched several things, with that kind of, like, managed supply and trying to understand, like, how many we need to manufacture, because, yeah, it's so much easier to feel like, "Okay, I'm not just doing a wait list where people might or might not come back. I'm doing, an optional way to, yeah, to secure a true order."
Right. From a customer standpoint, like again, paying a deposit versus paying the full amount upfront changes the entire decision quite a bit. Have you observed something around how this actually impacts user behavior and buying patterns? Like store offering down payment versus store not offering down payment for high ticket value items?
It's tough, right? Because, it's hard to compare people not doing it. Of the data we have is about, like, peace of mind kind of thing. So the best comparison I have is, there's a couple merchants that we work with that said the biggest pain point for them wasn't even like, "Ooh, the chance at improving conversion." It was the amount of support tickets that they got being like, "Where's my stuff? Like, when's it shipping? What's going on?" And so, like, anybody who's dealing with lead times would be struggling to keep up with these, like, similar tickets, right? And you can't really, like, outside of someone telling you and checking, where your product is, there's no way to make someone feel more comfortable with that, right? And as that price increases, that happens more and more, and you're more and more uncomfortable, right? And so, that was, like, the one thing that I learned a lot about, which I hadn't focused on when I started this company, where I was focusing on, like, yes, you'll get more committed buyers, but that's kind of the angle that I keep mentioning with, like, building trust where, yeah, it's just like, I'm not gonna ask you for full price and then, like, run away with your money, right? And so I think that's, like, the huge thing that I think is, maybe, like, a little bit more hidden as, like, a value prop for just doing deposits.
No, absolutely. And I believe checkout is actually one of the most sensitive parts of e-commerce. Any friction there literally impacts revenue. How do you build a flexible payment flow without breaking the overall checkout experience with DownPay?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, obviously, we build it in a very mindful way, but we also, um, we're not as a company, we're not optimizing for like, don't add too much friction because it'll impact conversion. Like the kinds of products that we work with that people are trying to sell are not things that are going to suffer from like an extra very important step, like that extra very important step might be the reason why somebody checks out with that brand, right? And so for us it's like the answer isn't always try to like run through everything and like get someone to check out as fast as possible. It's clear communication across the whole buyer flow from product page cart to checkout on what's going on, making the story clear about deposits, how they work, the card is being stored on file, so on and so forth, all the way through. That's what builds trust, right? And it's not trying to bait and switch somebody. And so I think that's the part that, another kind of benefit that we've talked about a lot is like that's a huge impact to not having chargebacks related to shipping times, right? People being like, "Oh, I didn't get my stuff and I'm going to do a chargeback." You didn't pay in full. So like that's already like proof, right? That it's not something that was delivered. So yeah, I'm more on the side of like, this is useful for specific businesses where like you don't want a $6,000 chargeback on your business. You're not going to like try to rush through and optimize checkout, for speed when this might happen more often, right? So it's a fine line though. It's a balance, and it's just making sure that you are completely like we're giving people the right information to make decisions for themselves on how they should build a workflow for taking a deposit, right? So it's unique for every merchant that we work with.
When we talk about merchants, what kind of categories typically uses a solution like this?
Yeah, I mean, there it it spans quite a few, but I would say jewelry is huge, luxury items, furniture, anything where like you are feeling the effects of like a conversion drop. I think any AOV that's over $500, you're seeing like pretty significant decrease in conversion on Shopify. And so those folks I feel have benefited the most out of a solution like this. The other thing is like it's a ton of different industries who actually have already like they do this, right? They do this in their brick and mortar locations, or they do this in a very manual sales team driven way, and they're just saying like we already know it works. We just want to actually bring it to our online store as well. So I you'll be surprised at the variety of different industries that use it, because like it's sporting goods, it's apparel, it's launching new skincare products or candles or you name it, right? It's crazy. But the biggest ones that I think really see the impact is anything kind of high consideration, when you buy them.
And then typically when customers come and maybe they want to use an app like this, is there some sort of checklist? Because again, we all know Shopify App Store is getting crowded day in, day out, hundreds of apps in every category. And if someone really wants to find the right app, what would they should actually be looking at uh, while doing their evaluations?
That's yeah, it's interesting, right? Like it's a hard question because people come in with different contexts. I would say like, what we're trying to do well is provide the best advice on, is this worth it for you? Are you at the right size for it? Are you actually going to see an impact? Because it would be such a shame to get people onboarded that like see no value. So it's the matter of like, stepping back first and asking yourself, oh my goodness, sorry. Let me start again. Um, yeah, so it's about stepping back, I think, and building a checklist for your business and saying, okay, what are the aspects where I'm struggling? Am I hearing from my customers that, my prices are too high, or maybe not even too high, but like where it takes a couple, conversations with somebody, or it takes a couple visits to your website to actually purchase that product? That's hesitation that likely is related to if you have lead times, if your products are higher value. So those are the things that I think will make a difference in whether it's worth exploring an app for partial payments. Because yeah, it really truly is like a niche that doesn't serve some, types of businesses at all, right? Like things that are in stock and like very low priced. It's, there's not really a lot of value to doing this on top of that, right? You could do discounting, you could do, things like that.
No. And then, as I said earlier, payments are literally one of those areas where trust is everything. When you, as an app, uh, trying to integrate yourself in the user journey or a customer journey, if something feels off, the conversion drops instantly. From your perspective, how important is customer support and clarity when your app sits on top of a merchant site?
Yeah, my stance, especially when it comes to payment, like you said, like the payment systems and anything related to credit cards and everything, is like my goal is to make sure that we are as seamless and as white label as possible for a brand. So we want to integrate as perfectly into a workflow and into the storefront as possible so that it doesn't feel like an app is part of the experience. It feels like, yeah, exactly, right? Like as native as possible, we write to like Shopify orders, we do everything to be as embedded as possible, because then it feels like you're not asking somebody to just figure out an entirely new system while they're already trying to run their business, right? And that's just super painful and can lead to trust issues. And my whole stance on support is like we have a support team and it's amazing. I think I think we tried AI agents once and I was like, I can't do this. I need humans and I need them to be really good at this and to like interact with people because that's just the kind of business that I want to run, right? So yeah, I think it's and then the crazy thing is like, you do it well, you onboard people and you listen to the kind of workflow that they need, and it's like they're good for like once they launch and everything's great, Maybe there's new features they want to implement and they come back, but like for the most part, they're seeing success, which is yeah, it's a nice feeling.
No, no, absolutely. And I think that's a great point that you made, that you can't just 100% rely on AI when your app is at a very core and important and critical category like checkouts, payments, and then everything. And I think that's where a stellar customer experience and customer support can give you those cherry on the top moments. Here, I would really love to do a quick shout out to our sponsors today, the Support Heroes, for supporting this episode. They help Shopify app founders just like you scale their support operations without compromising on quality, which becomes incredibly important as you grow, and which you rightly said. Coming back to the overall merchant journey, do they typically need help setting up the app, or they can just come in and set up the app themselves and go live instantly?
It's funny. It's like, I mean, it's a variety of different things, right? Like we have people who just use our self-service system. Everything's fine. They set it up. Like we've built it to feel self-service. But the thing with the app is like we built it the way Shopify's built, like API first. You have everything we have in the app is built on top of our API, and so we have a lot of brands using that as a way to do a very highly custom system, whether it's custom storefront or custom systems with our API. And so for those, it's more like, hey, let's strategize. Talk to me about what you want to do, and we're the advisors and the consultants of that experience that they're building, and we give them all the tools to do that. So it actually varies based on obviously the size of the business. And the big thing for us is just like we've just seen a ton of agencies get benefits out of that, right? Where it's like, oh, like an API, amazing. We can just do what we want. We have the flexibility to, you know, do what our client needs. And I think it's been exciting to make great product decisions that led us down that path that just feels like a really good developer experience, right? So, yeah, a little bit for everyone, you know what I mean?
Absolutely, absolutely. I have a very base question to ask now. I probably could have asked this at the start, but I really wanted to understand how you have built this product and everything. But how does it feel like moving from Shopify to building your own company within the same ecosystem, same space? And I think day before yesterday there was a tweet. I mean, no longer people no longer call it a tweet. There was a post on X. I think about 1.3 billion words of payouts processed this year to Shopify app partners. I mean, definitely grateful for the overall ecosystem, but how's your personal experience has been, and how's the journey has been, and what was the differences where you were actually working at Shopify versus you setting up your own company, building on top of Shopify, and not just a random app, but something that really sits at such a critical intersection for brands?
That's a great question. You're letting me reminisce about my life now. Um, it's funny. So I was just in Montreal for a partner meetup at the Shopify office there, and it was just such a weird feeling to enter that room and be like, I'm not working here. I'm running my own thing, and like, but I recognized people's faces and I recognized people from the community, and it was just like such an enriching feeling. But it was yeah, like, I started to think about, like, who was I as a person when I worked there, right? And, like, what a difference it is, and I would say the biggest things for me were, like, I had a lot of I jungle gymmed Shopify like crazy, like, I worked in IT, security, I was a product manager on a couple products as well, and it was like, everything was just like, be a specialist at the thing, like, know it really well, do it really well, and everything else gets taken care of for you, right? And it's like, obviously, I miss parts of that, from time to time where right now it's like, no, just do it all, and so there is a level of, longing for a specialization, which is funny because I'm such a generalist in my life. But, when things get really busy and crazy like they are right now, it's like, oh man, what I would kill to just be like one role. Um, but then you think about the freedom that it gives you to start a not only to start a company, but to like build such a crazy network of people that I get to talk to every day, whether it's my own team or people in the ecosystem. Like I now run a little podcast as well with like some ladies from, the ecom space. And I, have amazing friends around the world who are either building their own apps, run agencies or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, my world opened up when I left Shopify, right? Where it's like I was fortunate when I worked there. We were in office, like it was before the pandemic. And so like there was a vibe. I had a group of like friends there where we would play D&D at my house every week because I'm a nerd. And we did that for like 1.5 years and it was amazing, right? But now it's like an entirely different world of like making friends, nerding out over things, and like getting to catch up with each other, like at .dev and like all these conferences. So, I'm glad I had both experiences, but I would say like I just love being I feel like it's made for somebody who's a generalist, to just be a founder and like just figure things out through the hardships and through the more easy times.
Definitely. And when you thought about building Downpay, did you actually build the product first, or did you first maybe reached out to all of those merchants maybe you may have touched while you were at Shopify? How did that one phase went? Like the idea to the MVP to getting your first 1 to 10 customers. How does that?
Yeah, no, it was hard because like I was used to working at large companies where it's like you're focused on a tiny thing in the grand scheme of everything, and now you're like, what needs to be part of this first version to get customers. And so I built a lot on assumptions at the beginning. And I think the biggest mistake, maybe not mistake, but like the biggest thing I would change now would be like to focus sooner. And like we were like, okay, this could be used for everyone in every industry and whatever. And then it's like now you're building something for nobody and you won't stand out. And so at the beginning it was very much like very hard to say no because we would, chat with people through community forums and like all that stuff. And that's basically how we first got our first couple customers. And then we would build and build and build, and feel like, okay, we've appeased another, brand and like now we can solve for this. But that just like, yeah, dilutes your product and makes you manage more. So yeah, it was a good way to do it because I would say our MVP was quite like tight. We launched, I think it was summer of 2023 with something that was still missing pieces, but was delivering value at the base of what it did. And so that's the best advice I have for people where it's like solve a problem really well, get some early beta customers to test that theory and then like just launch. Like we just we're such perfectionists. If we don't launch, it's never going to happen, right? So, yeah, that was kind of our journey.
Absolutely. Today, what kind of GMV the app has been processing, if I may ask?
I'll load it up right now. We have this like live counter on our website. So I don't wanna lie to you, you know. Uh, we are at 496,500,000. So we're almost breaking half a billion in processed GMV for our brands. So, and I think we're at like about 1,600 brands using Downpay.
Wow. Wow. I do have a question. Again, not a traditional question I probably have asked to other participants, but just want to ask you this. And then again, you can say no to this. You said you have about 1,600 merchants, and I've seen this again and again. And the reason why I wanted to bring this up is more from the operator perspective, app founder perspective, because I started doing full time consulting last year onwards. I've worked with ton of apps, and what I've seen repeatedly is that most of the apps that I've worked with, they have a ton of install base. They have a lot of paid users who are very happy. But when you actually go and look at the review numbers do not justify the kind of paid customers these apps have. Why do you think there is this huge difference between the actual install count versus actual paid customers versus people who actually care enough to go ahead and leave a review? Because when you talk about Shopify, reviews are the bloodline. That's the first thing someone sees. Like when you go on a date, you see how the other person is looking, you see how they are dressed, and then you decide in your head whether you this date is gonna go to the next step or not. And that's exactly what visitors does. They go to your app listing, they look at all of the listing, the images, description, they look at how many reviews you have, who's returned it, and all of that stuff. And then they decide whether they want to install or not. But not a lot of merchants are going ahead and leaving a review. Just wanted to understand your take on that.
Yeah, sure. I mean, if you've ever tried to talk to brand, like even people who are asking for your help, right? Like they're onboarding on your app and they're like, I need help. This is like, I can't figure this out or whatever. The moment of time that they have to dedicate to even trying to set this up is so small in the grand scheme of running a business and doing everything else. And so I think like that's kind of what I always take away from like, oh, like not that many reviews. Like the they've been they've been kind of gamified, right? Where, you have a support team that like basically begs merchants for reviews, and the people that leave a review are people who have a bit more capacity that week to like write something nice about you. And it's just like that's I think the established brands on Shopify recognize that as well when it comes to the App Store and reading the reviews and so on and so forth, where like most people don't even look at the 5-star reviews, they look at the 3 or the 2s or the 1s, right? And it's like those are the ones that are very telling, not the 5-star reviews that you like asked merchants to fill in for you. And so it's like yeah, I think it's really tough because it's getting harder and harder to just justify the time and effort it takes to, like, build up your review count, and my hope is that it becomes less important over time, and metrics like length of time, brands have been with that solution, data analytics that can be pulled out through AI would be more valuable than, "Oh, it's such a great app," and then they uninstall and the review's gone or whatever, right? I just think it's like we need a different system and a different way to determine whether something's good or not. And there's all those, like, hacky people that email being like, "I could leave you hundreds of reviews," and it's like, "Oh, how do we get rid of those?" And so it's just like there has to be a better way, and, like, the better way is usually brands just, like, pull away from the App Store and go, "I'm gonna go ask somebody I trust whether, like, they have an opinion on what their favorite app to do XYZ is," right? And so I just hope somehow it gets better because right now it's just getting, like, difficult, right? And we have, what, hundreds of new apps every week now on the App Store, so, like, there's gotta be a way, right, to
The AI slop with platforms that's literally pushing AI apps out there with people soliciting, leaving reviews, and then apps who just launched within a week's time getting 100 reviews. I think things are just getting messier and crowded.
it's messy, yeah.
That's why I'm really glad that what we are building here at the SaaS Hub is we're literally reaching out to all the apps. We are trying to see what they actually do, how these apps are different from the other apps in the category, and then creating these curated lists across all categories so that when merchants really need something that is pre-vetted, less noise, and final selected curation, they can literally refer to all of our curated apps because our list will not have more than 10 apps in every category. That always beats where there are hundreds of apps in every category, right? So I think, but that's where, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Now, from an agency angle, do you work with agencies or the primary distribution and primary install is mostly through Shopify?
Yeah, we work with agencies a lot. It's great because I think we just have a tool that, like, people ask for, people need help with, and it's more complex, and the way we've built it, caters really well to how agencies want to build. Obviously, it's a variety of different businesses, right? So I can't say that it's all agency, but, yeah, it's just that's, I think, a big piece of why I like the ecosystem, where now I feel like the walls are coming down in terms of, like, this big distinction between apps and agencies, and, like, Shopify's doing a really good job trying to encourage that kind of relationship. So, I'm here for more of that because I think it just helps all of us keep growing, right?
Absolutely. I think one of the toughest thing which a lot of at least indie brands or indie apps or indie makers that I work with, they face is around agency partnerships. I think apps are pretty solid, pretty good. They're stacking up good reviews. They're also getting good MRR and ARR numbers and everything. But the moment it comes to partnerships, I think they are also doing great job at tech partnerships. But agency partnerships is something which is very tough to crack. I myself have tried my hand at it for 2 years, and in that 2 years, I think the only thing which really worked is where I never pitched to an agency, and I always try to maybe help them with intros, help them with a store who's looking to migrate from Magento to Shopify, or who's looking to upgrade from professional to Shopify Plus or want to do CRO. I think wherever I probably have shared these kind of leads or those kind of ongoing engagements is where they have reciprocated back with installs and with referrals. But what are your thoughts around the overall agency partnership angle? Because every app that I talk to, even at ShopQuest last year, we went about 250, 300 app founders came in. And the talk of the town was everyone was trying to find an angle to get into an agency program, doing agency partnerships. And I think that's where a lot of things break. What do you think really works in agency space today? Also, some controversial opinion that is floating around the ecosystem is if you're based in US, if you're based in Canada, or if you have been an ex Shopify employees, probably agency partnerships comes a bit easier because of the geography, because of the association itself, versus when you are maybe somewhere in Lithuania, Spain, Australia, or India, for us. What are your thoughts around it, and how do you think people should ideally go about agency partnership angle?
Hmm. It's a great question. I mean, I don't have all the answers, but I do have an opinion, which is, um, I think anybody who's trying to like automate partnerships, at like our size, right? I'm not talking about the Klavios of the world or whatever. I'm talking about like, really successful apps that are solving a problem, but don't have a giant VC backed team. Like they're just, I've just seen some painful examples of like, here's the checklist of how we partner, right? And then like this, and this. And every single time I read those checklists, it's always one-sided. It's always like, you'll get us this many leads and you'll get us this and whatever. And I'm like, now I really don't want to talk to you anymore. And I think the biggest learning for me on any partnerships is like, it is all being a human being and not being a salesperson. It is about like you take a genuine interest in the agency, the person you're talking to, what's going on, and you treat it as a relationship that is now part of your life for the rest of your life, right? For as long as you run your company or whatever. Because that's what it's about, right? Like it's partnerships at its core, whether tech or agency or whatever, is about, how can I help you? How can you help me? And like, if it so happens that there's a great connection at some point, you'll keep me in mind, right? And so I think it's just a lot of people are making these mistakes of like, here's my affiliate link, just submit. I'm like, I have a full-time job. That's not how this works. I'm not going to start every sales call with my customers being like, now let me go through the list of people that have apps that you could maybe use, right? It's like it happens casually and it happens, if it happens. And I think that's like, if I could give anyone a takeaway, it would be like, just be a human being. Like, who are you with your friends? Who like, if you don't have any friends, then you have bigger problems. But if you do have friends, they like you for a specific reason. So just be that person and meet people at events and meet people at, areas. And like these are this kind of is just more important than trying to like systematically automate, building a program or whatever. So anyway, that's my take on anything agency. I do think like, yeah, um, the other opinion I have is like for non-North American companies, like stop looking at North American agencies. Just give it a try. Like look at agencies in your hometown. Look at agencies that like do an amazing job where you are. Like everyone's like staring at the same agency and being like, that's the only way. And it's like, I bet you if you built relationships locally with people who you relate to, who speak the same language as you and whatever, that is a better trusting relationship and will lead to better business than going after the same agency that's like basically putting you in spam. So like it's just, and I think we just don't do that enough, right? Where we try to build a more local community of it. So that's my advice. Take it or leave it. I hope it makes a better ecosystem.
Definitely, that's a golden one, and I think that's where a lot of app founders are getting it wrong. They are just trying to get share of something which is limited. They should form local partnerships first and then try to do. And one advice from me personally, because I've been in the ecosystem over a decade. Funny part, strange part, I rarely went to any events, right? Again, that's something which I regret. But after going to events, I also feel lucky that probably it was a good thing I didn't went to events, because off lately, all the local event that I've attended, the discussions are all around, hey, can you be partner? Can you refer us merchants? There are no honest conversation. There are no honest appreciation about, oh wow, you guys have actually built an amazing app. You guys are doing this right. Can you give me some suggestions? It's pure play partnerships. And even if you look at any event that happens, and after a week's time, LinkedIn will start flooding with posts, great event, did this partnership, did that partnership, a lot of post starts coming in. And I think that is what is creating again a cascading effect, that everyone who even in a sane mind want to focus on his own product, do their own bit with all of these LinkedIn messages, LinkedIn posts, they are also getting distracted and they are also falling into the same trap.
Absolutely. Like, today I just met so and so and it added 2 million to my ARR. It's like, okay, relax. Like every just what I do at events is like like last time when I went to that Montreal meetup, I was just reminiscing about like things. I met people, I talked about my dog. We had some really good heart to hearts about business and what's hard and like whatever, and then maybe casually it came like some stuff came up about like, oh, we maybe work in the same industry or whatever. But then, yeah, it's just about just seeing if it's even worth getting into business. Like you want to like work with people you actually like as humans. So just start there and don't be pushy. Like people hate feeling pushed, right? If I tell you that you should, do something like, oh, you should go do this, it's like that's the last thing you want to do. You're like, no, I'm gonna fight back. I don't want to do the thing. So like, just don't in
Unless even
business.
I
It's the
was thinking
same thing.
about it. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
So,
Unless you're like, it's my idea. Yes, okay, yeah, I'm gonna go do it.
yeah, I personal suggestion for me. I'll be coming to Canada for the very first time. Uh, Forget the international travel part of it, but meeting the actual core ecosystem folks is something I'm really excited about. But all the talks which are actually happening right now in and around me is, hey, have you reached out to these agencies? Have you reached out? I haven't reached out to anyone. I think the only folks I have ever spoken about going to Canada are like maybe you, like when we were curating the app, or maybe a couple of other guys. They asked like, hey, are you planning to come and all? Not looking for partnerships, nothing at all. Just want honest conversations. Just wanted to understand what's your experience around Shopify events. What do you think is going to be the best part about this year's .dev for those who haven't ever visited and gonna visit it for the very first time?
I mean, it's 2 days this time, which is awesome. So I think you're gonna get a lot out of just like, as we say, the hallway track, right? Like, I think there's just meeting people who work at Shopify, having conversations about, maybe like for apps, it's like, oh, I'm gonna talk to the team that actually works on this area. That I thought was super valuable last year. And then just, yeah, like it's go to the events, figure out, who you want to chat with beforehand and like try to meet up in person because that's what really like builds relationships. And yeah, like with conferences and everything, it's always about just like who you might bump into, right? Like it's very hard to curate that in the moment. You can have a top 3 maybe and try, but yeah, be realistic with your time, right? Because it's going to be pretty hectic. But yeah, it's the events were fantastic, like the ones run by Shopify and the ones that, were hosted afterwards. Like there was this amazing Judge Me Zapier 10-year anniversary, at an arcade last year, which was amazing, and just stuff like that. And so, keep an ear out for those kinds of things, and you'll meet like more people than you'll remember, in a week's time. So that's like the best. And then also just like have capacity to just take some time and enjoy where you are, right? Like it's very easy to forget because you're just like go, go, go. But just, yeah, build in some breaks so you can actually just like catch up on being alive, I guess.
That's an awesome advice. Thanks for that. Now, coming back on the merchant side of it, if there is a Shopify brand who's actually considering offering deposits or partial payments, what should they get right from the very first day? And are there any common mistakes brands typically do while offering partial deposits or partial payments?
Yeah, I mean, this kind of ties to what I was mentioning earlier with like very clear transparency across the whole buyer experience, so from product cart to checkout page. I think the biggest thing that, people can just like not do perfectly and not do well is making clear like what are the steps here? When is the thing going to come in? When are you going to get charged? Like, how are you going to get charged? Is it going to be automatic and you're just going to get an invoice? Is it going to be, whatever? Am I going to charge your card and you'll get a confirmation? Like, whatever. All that's like nitty gritty stuff. But then the biggest thing that, I'm trying to like get out there and like, in my sales calls and in conversations, I'm like, hey, like we want to give you advice on like how to get this to convert well for you, right? Like you can't just like enable this and hope that everyone uses it and figures it out. It is a marketing strategy and you should treat it in that way. So it's like, are you announcing the fact that you now offer this to your customers? Are you do you have banners on your site that explain it? Do you have terms and conditions that explain it? Are you, going on social or your email lists to say, hey, this is now an option? And like, there's just so many, like a wealth of ways that I've seen it used that like, yeah, it's like, you can't just like turn it on and set and forget it without really like delving in and going, am I explaining this correctly? So that people don't feel nervous about like what if they treat it and they think it's like a loan and it wasn't clear to begin with, right? So that's kind of the area that I think it's just you can just spend the time and tap into it even more to make it more successful.
Got it. And then let's say hypothetically, if you were to start down payment today, let's say it's 29th April, you just have this aha moment that, hey, no one is doing partial payments or deposits. I want to build this app. What would you do differently, which you think can help you grow faster?
Mm. Just focus. Like I think I said it earlier, right? Where it's like, don't build a feature for everyone that comes in and is like, do you do this? Do you do that? It's like challenge every single thing that comes in and try to understand whether it's going to benefit you long term, whether like in terms of you maintaining your app, as well as like whether that type of customer is the perfect fit for what you're building. So like that's the one thing I would do is just focus very rigorously on like building the thing that is easy to maintain and easy to keep growing versus broader and broader and broader from the outset. So
Nice. Do you run ads for the app on Meta, Google, or Shopify?
we run ads on Shopify. Yeah, I want to experiment with other ads. It's just time, just not having enough time.
How are ads working for you?
Great. I mean, it's like we've been running them for a year and a half now, and it's like it's quite successful. I'm quite happy with it. I do think like, yeah, it's important to run them where people are going most, right? Like find the right keywords that suit your app and just like no one said spend thousands and thousands of dollars. Like run experiments, give it 90 days to see whether it has value. Just start somewhere, because I do think that there is impact to be had there. So like I'm really glad that I did. And now it's just a matter of like, cool, in niches, it's quite successful. How do I, grow that beyond the App Store? And that's why I'm like, maybe I'll experiment with Google and Meta and stuff in the future.
Nice. That's great. Awesome. Now we are almost towards the end of our conversation. Uh, we now go to a segment which I really love, which is called as a quick fire round. I have a couple of questions with me, and whatever comes to your mind, the first, or again, if you need time, you can always think about it. What is that one Shopify app you admire the most, and it can't be your own app?
Checkout links. Just met Dennis like maybe 2 months ago, and his app works really well with ours. And he's just like building stuff nonstop, and he's amazing. So definitely checkout links.
Nice. What is that one e-commerce trend you are watching very closely?
Um, what's it called? Live shopping. I think it's really cool and different. So I'm seeing how that changes.
Okay. What is that one mistake brands make when it comes to payments?
That's tough. That one's hard. I'm not sure. I think it's yeah, that's a tough one to answer because like payments is payments, right? Like I would just offer what makes sense for, your region and stuff. And so it's like being but also with the caveat of like don't offer the world because then it's just overwhelming. So maybe like too many options is a little bit crazy as well. Like, now you're spreading everyone and it's confusing. So
Got it. Deposits versus pre-order, which is best for brands?
It's funny because I think pre-orders is an like a overused term, right? Like a pre-order can be anything, and like a deposit with a pre-order is a thing. So like they're different in their own, way, and there's value in doing a pre-order with a deposit so that you can not hold somebody's money for too long.
Okay. I'm ending the quickfire round, but I do have one question which I had forgot and now it just came back.
Yeah, sure.
Uh, what are your thoughts around SEO and GEO? Because I think AI is everywhere. Like in products, also, every app developer is trying to incorporate AI. Are you guys also planning to do something with AI, maybe AI powered analytics for down pay, or maybe giving them split options? I'm not sure how that would work. And second, are you doing anything to get discovered inside the LLM models? Like, are you currently getting any traffic from ChatGPT, Claude, or other models? If not, are you considering doing something around those?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, there's opportunity for implementing AI in DownPay, I guess, but like I would say there's still so much useful things that don't need it in our core product that are more impactful than adding a chatbot or whatever to our app. So I think, yeah, like maybe AI powered analytics in the future. But for now, I think we're taking a very balanced approach when it comes to AI, where we compare it and compete it with every other priority and decide whether it's going to be impactful or not, versus like jumping on a trend for the sake of jumping on a trend. So that's just my opinion in general on AI. Like I don't need a chatbot in every app that I use. And then the in terms of like what did you ask me? What did you ask me? No, I can't. I'm blanking.
SEO versus GEO? Like, are you
Oh yes, yeah,
optimizing
yeah, yeah,
that
yeah.
covered in LLMs?
Absolutely, yeah. So I mean, I have had customers tell me that they found us through AI, which is really cool, like through LLMs. And I think it's just like just quality content, quality, like advice to people, and like being able to build something that isn't like we're not trying to game the system and trying to get into AI. It's just like be useful and be clear about what you do and that how it sets you apart so that LLMs can compare you to other options and other, systems, and not just not lead people down the wrong path. Because the worst thing would be if I'm showing up in AI and it's like not really what we do and not related. So we're just making a very concerted effort to make sure our website and articles and everything we write is like very crystal clear and optimized for LLMs as well as humans, like as well as humans being able to read them well as well. So it's a blend. It's a blend of strategies, but it's working, which is great. So I'm happy to keep doing it that way.
Awesome. Any last words or a shout out to brands who are actually potentially either watching this entire podcast, or maybe you just came across a short clip of this particular segment? Any last words for them?
Yeah, I mean it's what do I have to say? I just I would I would love to see more people take a chance on experimenting with something like this. I think it's not as common, and I would love to like my goal, I guess, is like if you have a lead time, this is a great opportunity to try an experiment with like partial payments. I just think it can lead to good things. I've seen it lead to good things. So that's like the one big thing that I try to tie us to, which is just like build trust through giving people payment flexibility.
Diana, honestly, this was a great conversation, not only from the Shopify app founder perspective, but also from someone who's worked in the ecosystem at Shopify, building their own company and building one of the best apps in the partial payment and deposit things. I think this episode really reframes the payment from being just a checkout step and into something much more strategic. It impacts conversion, it impacts cash flow for merchants, it impacts how they plan their inventory and overall customer experience. For anyone listening, definitely check out Downpay on the Shopify App Store or visit getdownpay.com. I'll add all the show notes, also Diana's LinkedIn in the show notes, and also the link to install the app. And a quick shout out again to our sponsors, the Support Heroes, for supporting this episode. If you're a Shopify app founder and if you're evaluating adding a new member to your Shopify customer support team or even thinking about outsourcing it entirely, the Support Heroes is one of the best solutions out there. You can book a quick call with them and get an evaluation done. I drop all the details in the show notes. Thanks a lot for watching this episode. And again, if you're a merchant and if you're looking to find the right tech stack for your Shopify brand, go check out thesashub.com. This is Yuvraj, and you're watching the SaaS Hub Podcast. I'm signing off. Bye.